video here. This will be next week. So after you have added and dropped whoever you're going to add and drop and your rosters are finalized as far as the people on your roster, then I'll send you a Google form that looks very much like this one. So for this one, I used Griffin as an example because he had contracts available for each year. So I thought it would be a better example for you guys to look at. So this Google form basically is going to help you make decisions on your 2023 contracts. So all the rookies, like we talked about in the previous video, are automatically assigned to 2027 contracts, and they're listed below. And then all of the players from other contracts from the previous year are also listed there as well. So for Griffin, his 2027 contracts, which are the taxi squad players from last year, are Tyler Algier and James Cook. Now, the reason I didn't automatically assign the rookies for Griffin is because he has more than 4 rookies. So he needs to decide which of his rookies are getting the 2027 contracts and which ones are getting less. So 2027 contracts, he has 4 open. 2026, he has 3 open. 2025, he has 3 open. And then 2024 are unlimited. He currently has 7 players that are on contract that are ending in 2024. So that's all just for info, so he knows what he's got available. The next box is going to give him the 2027 contracts. So the following players have been added to your roster this offseason. They're eligible to sign a long-term contract, and he has a maximum of 4 players that can sign a 2027 contract. So he's going to select whichever 4. So let's just say, for example, he chooses the first 4. These are the 4 he likes. That leaves Luke Schoonmaker and Hendon Hooker not having a 2027 contract. Now, keep in mind, we are going to have the taxi squad, and you can take 2 of your rookies and you can assign them to the taxi squad. So in Griffin's example, probably the best thing you could do is actually contract 4 of these guys for 2027, and then actually go ahead and make tight end Luke Schoonmaker and then the quarterback Hendon Hooker, go ahead and make both of those guys a 2024 contract, because you're going to assign them to the taxi squad anyway. So then you're not taking up one of your long-term contracts with 2 guys that you're going to assign to taxi squad anyway. So for Griffin, probably best thing for him would be to assign 4 and then leave 2 of them as 2024 contracts because they're going to be assigned to taxi anyway. Then you go to the next box, the following players, yada, yada. For 2026, he only has a maximum of 3 players that he can sign to a 2026 contract. So we already know right off the bat, Zach Carbonet, Tyjae Spears, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Rashee Rice, Luke Schoonmaker, Hendon Hooker. None of those guys can sign these contracts because they've already been contracted for other spots. So he could look at Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, Elijah Mitchell, Marquise Brown, and he could say, all right, I can do a maximum of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, and Marquise Brown. So now Elijah Mitchell is the only player without a contract. So then we get down here, you've got 3 2025 contracts available. Now he's got Elijah Mitchell is the only one that hasn't signed a contract, so he would select Elijah Mitchell. So now that completes his contract signings, okay? So that's going to be the way it's set up for all of you. You're going to get this Google form. It's going to lay out all the players you already have under contract. It's going to list all of the players that you drafted or added over the offseason, and then you're going to have the opportunity to select which ones you want for which contract. And, of course, if you go through that process and you have any questions, or if you submit this to me and I notice mistakes, then I'll just be in contact with you individually to make sure we get it right. But for Griffin, if this was his, he'd just click submit. Now the response has been recorded. It'll email me, and then I'll go ahead and update the contracts accordingly. Once the contracts have been assigned, then I'm able to create a note on every player's player card that'll say on the player card when their contract expires. So then that way, if they get traded to somebody else, the contract goes with them. You know, if you trade for somebody that has a 2027 contract, you trade your player that has a 2025, then those deals go with the player. So if you trade for a 2025 player, you're getting a 2025 player. If you trade for a 2027, so on, you're getting a 27. All right. I think that's it. All right. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks.